hole.
Huh? What'd you say?
The rod.
Uh-huh.
And pulled it out. And after pulling it out, the two pumps that I had pulling water out of the hole died. So now the hole is filled with water, and I keep watching. There's a light on one of the freezers that's supposed to just be on, color orange, to tell you that the freezer is running. But it keeps dropping out of sight. It kind of goes through a phase of fluttering and then shuts off completely, but you look at the freezer, open it up, there's a light inside, the freezer is cold and working. So that light is almost like a canary in a mine shaft, telling me that they're doing something with the magnetism that is being generated below the house. Jennifer had to go in for an operation on her tooth, and the only place they could do it was in a suburb of Ottawa, because she had to be anesthetized for the operation, and we had to take a taxi to get out there.
Oh, that's expensive.
$300, $330 one way, or one trip with the taxi, and we had to go twice. Once for the examination and another time for the actual operation. $755 for the operation and $75 for the examination.
Aren't you a little wary of, what those people can do?
Absolutely. However, can't do anything about it when she was in such pain. She had to get prescriptions and doubted that the prescription was what it said on the bottle, because as a director of nursing, she's used to dealing with that stuff, and it wasn't removing the pain. She had to get two doses, and still the pain was there, and they can't operate when the thing is causing pain, because it means the antibiotics haven't worked. So she had to reach the doctor in Canada, a suburb of Ottawa, and get him to instruct the drugstore about giving her a stronger medicine. So all in all, I think it cost about $75 for prescriptions, about $700 in taxis, maybe $800 because going for the prescriptions, and $75 for the examination, plus $755 for the operation itself. And of course, I didn't have the money. Megan came through
Mm.
and paid for the operation and the trip to Canada, which was between the taxi and the operation close to $1,800 or something.
Wow.
He's here on a refugee status, supposedly getting protection from the government of Canada. In fact, they're not participating in any way of providing for her care. The only thing she received from the government of Canada was she first came into the country, she had to go for a checkup, and they paid that.
That's kind of like that, that same principle how the mafia works. They protect you, they say, but they're harming you in reality.
Well, I remember being on Parliament Hill, and there was a Russian refugee from Russia there about 2 years after I got to Parliament Hill, and the government of Canada was paying for an apartment for him. All the rent and services, he even had internet, and they gave him something like $750 a month on top of that for food. But Jennifer, coming from the United States, gets nothing. So there's obviously a genetic rule that they go by, that they want certain refugees and they don't want others. Right now, I think most of the refugees that are getting into the country are Muslim of one nationality. Some are from Iran, some are from African countries, but there seems to be a preference for Muslims because they do what they're told to do, even to the point of committing suicide by bombing. They are yes people. But people who basically refuse to accept the rules they set out, claiming that we have freedom of speech, but it's only free as long as you're saying what they want to hear. Will not provide for refugees. They will pay to bring in temporary workers to fill in what they say are slots that Canadians will not accept. Well, you get a place like McDonald's or other stores like that who offer minimum amount of salary, and then they say nobody wants to accept it, so we have to bring them in. Most of them are coming in from the Philippines to fill those jobs. And again, the same thing in hospitals. Most of the care workers in hospitals are people brought in from Southeast Asia. While people who were educated in North America
Mm-hmm.
are not allowed to work. Of course, that was the same thing in Ogdensburg. She would not be given work even though she had 100% on the exams because they said she wasn't born in New York State and that New Yorkers get preference over Californians in New York State. But she probably was born in New York State.
Yeah.
But the gray nuns don't want to admit it.
Yeah. I guess that preference is because they're more like bureaucratic, engineered type.
Yeah, they've been genetically task-oriented as yes people in New York. And people sent to California were those who do more arguing than people looking for yes sir, no sir answers.
I remember when we last talked, you were talking about, I-10 and the A-Team. And I remember there was a series, and they made a remake of the movie, recently called The A-Team. I don't know if you remember The A-Team.
The A-Team.
Yeah.
I-10 and Amen.
Yeah, I-10 and Amen. And they made a movie called The A-Team. It's based off of an old TV series called The A-Team. And, one of the main characters was, I don't know if you remember him, Mr. T. He was the guy with...
Can't hear you.
I don't know if you remember one of the main characters in that TV series. His name was Mr. T. I don't know if you remember him. It was They had a show, The A-Team.
T-Cell.
Yeah.
Telephone company is the T. Telephone and transportation.
Yeah.
A T-cell is a cell that repairs other cells. You can take T-cells out of a person who has cancer and generate billions more of the T-cells and put them back into the body, and then it will attack the cancer. That's the basic premise of the letter T.
I thought it was also transmission or something.
Yeah. That's why the original T is the tree. And the people who run the show are known as the Three, the Trinity.
Yes, with that concept of the 13, I think Trinity was for like a world, and 13 was for universes, something like that.
Yeah.
Trinity, because I see that like
Ontario is known as the Trillium, and Ireland uses the shamrock, has 3 bumps in it.
I know the Jesuits in the old days, they would the education system that they had before public education, it was called the Trivium. The 3. But I see that it's like a method that they use. Like in the East, they had the Trinity of religions to take over that part of the world. And then
I'm going to have to go, Jared. I'm being called for supper.
Oh. All right, Glenn. I don't know, maybe
Call again when you can.
All right.
Yep.
Hey, Glenn. You're probably about to go to sleep soon, right?
Hey?
You're probably about to go to sleep, right?
I am in bed, yeah.
Oh.
What about you?
Me, I'm probably going to do my laundry and then probably get to bed, too.
Yeah.
Later. So I just found out my grandfather, he's in the hospital right now, and they said that, like, I think he wasn't swallowing his food, and they found that he has a tumor in his stomach.
He wasn't what? Following his regime?
No, swallowing his food.
Oh.
And then they checked him, and he has a tumor in his stomach, and it seems like he's not getting better. They don't know if it's cancerous or something. My brother was telling me this, so I don't know the full details. So.
Something that Tom here has as well is he has trouble swallowing, and they said it was because he had a lump on his esophagus tube that makes it difficult for him to swallow, but not cancerous. And they said they wouldn't recommend an operation because it would mean going through the back, cutting ribs, and in the end it would be more trouble than what he has now.
Yeah. Yeah. I fell over. I was reading a little bit from this philosopher, and there's a statement that he said that I've seen that a lot of film directors and writers, they seem to write around this word. It's a saying. It comes from the Bible, from sickness onto death, and the philosopher basically kind of expounded on that idea, and he talks about like despair, and I see this in a lot of movies and books. They talk about this concept, despair, and I don't know. So there's all these different points of view on it, but I don't know. Is that like a coded word, despair? Does it have like another meaning in I guess to ecclesiastic Freemasonry?
The word fear?
Despair.
Air.
Despair.
Despair.
Yeah.
Well, it has AI in it, which is artificial intelligence. It has PR in it, which means that it serves a purpose. And it has des for destroy. So the destruction for a purpose through artificial intelligence or artificial insemination.
So this what's going on in with in Iraq? Was it Iraq? And with this ISIS thing, is this that
play?
World War III play?
Theater.
Yeah. Yeah, I knew it was theater, but I didn't know which play it was. I'm thinking, is it the World War III type of thing they want to set up, where it's like the war in the Middle East and type of...
Well, isn't ISIS linked to picking up the pieces of a god and putting them back together again, with the exception of the penis, which allows male to fertilize? So it would obviously be a suggestion that the purpose of males as independent human beings is changing.
Yep.
And there is less of a need for them now that women have been fabricated by the nuns. 200 years of infiltrating the genetic pool, slowly changing women into women, prepares them for the day when they will be self-propagating. Better as a traveler in space than genders.
Yeah, and that'll be with special batches, I guess, of material, because they won't be able to do it on their own, right? They'll need
well, they'll have the technology provided to them, complete the cloning process if they are, in fact, carrying out their task orientation in a manner which suits the remote controller. That's what the system has been planning all along, is basically 8,000 years of laboratory testing on genders. Now that the shelf life has expired, it's time to move to the next step. So you eliminate male, and then you eliminate women, 10s are 10, and 7 come 11.
It seemed like
is the 2 and 1.
It seemed like the longest process, from what I see, is this elimination of women, but the elimination of males seems to be going on right now at the same time as the elimination of women. It seems like
the female have been going on for the 8,000 years. 4,000 BC to 2,000 AD means that there's a cleanup process that still goes on. I suspect that the date of 0 going from BC to AD would suggest that the role of female as they were prior to the Ice Age ended with the Virgin Mary. And the role of men had to be put on a similar path and is about itself to expire by 2062.
You think the Jesus Christ figure would kind of symbolize the role of men? It is.
Yeah, except there was no such person. He's us. Jesus is pronounced with an H in Israel. He's us. So we began that path as male to see how we could be eliminated completely. Now, if you're looking at the news, it's all about either laughing at males for them being so inconsequential and disappearance of males and males as mass murderers and all of that stuff is all they can talk about.
Well, I'm seeing a big outcry, like, political groups. With political groups like they call them men's rights activists, all shouting and yelling about the whole war on men. And
well, if you look at it this week, you have a group called the Tea Party, and the leader in one of the southern states there, I forget which one, who expected to win, lost, and committed suicide.
Wow. Interesting. You think it was really suicide, or?
Yeah, he lost the election and then figured that there was no more room for men, and I think he hung himself, but I'm not certain.
I see another, I guess it symbolic of kind of like how the women take control or they're in power. Or that whole case with those media people with for the hacking, the phone hacking scandal. I saw that the lady Rebecca got all the charges dropped, but I think her boyfriend or whoever that guy was, he took all the blame. Seems and I can't believe that she just. I mean, I guess I can't believe it by now, but she just got off scot-free. Like, this lady was. It's just wow.
Well, I don't know if you're talking about the same story as the little boy that was left to cook in the car.
What?
And the guy who they claim did it seemed to have done everything possible to point the finger at him in order to cover up for someone else having done something, doing it on their behalf. That someone seems to be his second wife. In any event, it's all about, on the one hand, boys dying. On the other hand, stupid men being too stupid to be allowed to continue. That seems to be the media track. Of course, all of the main talk shows are replacing men with women. Things like New Day, you have 2 or 3 women for any man that shows up.
I see that, like how women are kind of casted in films now. They always seem to be like the main character of the entire film. Woman who's kind of cast as like some type of.
I can hardly hear you.
I see like the way how women are casted in films now. Like they'll be like the main character who's like always like a warrior who fights like a man, and they show that type of thing.
Those are 10s, odd 10s.
Yeah. But what do they mean when they talk about 9 again?
9 is the original woman.
Huh. But
10 is the we men.
6
is the feminine principle. is equilibrium with 9, a reversal of the process, going back to what women used to be before genders were created. Hands are women acting like males. You looked at the pride parades on the news, the number of females in the parade seemed to way outnumber the males. And the other point that is being made is that talking about the gay community, gay, lesbian, and all the other divisions put together, now comprise more than 35% of the population.
Wow.
35% is way off from the 5% that nature always reserves for changes to the norm, if you will.
Yeah.
So there's no doubt, in my mind at least, that genetic engineering that has happened in the last 100 years or so
it's geared toward this period
has
of time.
had that motivation on behalf of the engineer to add many more gays to the population than straight people.
Did you see that? I see.
I mean, just 10 years ago or so, the number was 15%.
That's just like wow, man. Like we're so off kilter with everything. It's just complete like evolution. It's just no wonder this universe.
Of course, the media has a mission called omission. They omit to tell the whole story.
Yeah.
James, if you use the same context as Jesus, should be pronounced Hames. The hammer at the front instead of jam, ham. The one with the hammer always rules.
Sure.
He's the judge at the front. He's the chairman of the board. Yeah. He's the Soviet Union.
Yeah, the Soviet Union.
Abraham. Sorry.
So the Soviet Union, they have a lot of control or power in this scheme of things.
They gave it up temporarily and are now working at retrieving. They gave up. And of course, the Brazilians are holding the World Cup. World Cup is being played out at the feet of a large statue called Cashing in My Chips. Jesus the Redeemer. Cashing in his chips. Of course, Brazil is just Portugal in South America.
Yeah.
Portugal was the home of the Basque. Basque and the Kurds are the representatives of the original version of male. Kurds and Way. Kurds is linked to the word cheese. Whey is linked to the liquid removed from cheese to make curds. The Pyrenees, known as the Whey.
The Rue Avenue.
Go from Paris to Santiago de Compostela, a little town, the edge of the landmass, just before you reach the Atlantic Ocean, called Finistère, end of the world. Basque had explored the North American continent and the Gulf of St. Lawrence long time before anyone else came to visit. That means the French in 1534 were not the first arrivals. Probably not even the Vikings, because the Vikings were financed by the Vatican. And the Vatican at the time was mostly happening in France. All the popes used to go and live there. So they knew what was in North America was here prior to the Crusades to Jerusalem. The only people who could have brought them the information would have been the Basque. QUE stands for agency. Quebec is an agent of France.
Queen.
The Basque, agency of France. An agency in the world we live in is not controlled by the public master. The IRS would be controlled by the U.S. government. Not true. IRS controls the U.S. government.
You know, I was watching a show earlier, and they were going, that guy Bourdain, he was in Detroit. And it's like, that's like a place
something you would not expect to be on CNN.
Yeah. I would never want to go to Detroit. That's a place that it's just it was like an empire, and they just destroyed the empire, and it's just basically.
You look at the logo of CNN, it's really CIW. Is ICW, or written in Eastern languages from the other end, it is wick, the light, flame, short for Wicca, witches of Salem.
This Wicca religion, what is it linked to? Because I saw it's linked
Voodoo.
to voodoo. Yeah. But it seems to be a feminine
Voodoo was always feminine before the Ice Age. Voodoo is the creation of the concept of Wicca or witches.
Mm-hmm.
Because what it purports to do is to control by remote activity. Control by remote activity is called magnetism.
Yeah, and in that world, I see a lot. It's talked about a lot. This magnetism. The
planet is a big magnet, electromagnet, the core of the planet. Then it becomes how you use that magnet. As the core, it provides protection from incoming signals from outer space that would not benefit the planet. But as magnetic fields created in different locations, since people would hide underground and you can't find them by crawling through tunnels where they know where they're going and you don't, the answer that they came up with is you create magnetic fields, and the people who are hiding underground end up having all kinds of neurological and physical problems. So by the year 200, they got rid of the underground revolt in the Middle East by making sure that magnetism reached all of the people down below. That was basically the end of the empire of pharaohs, taken over by Greece and Rome and Persia. The whole area just became a part empire.
The word magnet, too, it seems like the word is linked to that A10 in Persia, or Magi.
And it's a net, just like you have on the net.
Yeah.
And the beginning is magazines. What is a magazine of ammunition? Same word used for stories written in a monthly periodical called a magazine. If a magazine has bullets in it to kill you, what does a magazine have when it comes in a written form?
With things to alter you.
Not exactly there to help you.
Yeah.
Magnetism. G in the middle.
G. You have
Mars,
magazine.
genetic web.
That's something I'm gonna look into now. So
I'm gonna go take a shower because it's too hot in bed. I'm gonna take a shower so I can sleep tonight. No word from your brother?
I just, you know what happened? I tried to go there today, And they didn't do this to me last time. I tried to go there, and they asked for my ID at the front desk, and I said I didn't have it. And they told me I wasn't allowed. And then on my way home, when I got home, my mom told me they called her and said that it's restricted. Now she's the only one that can go in. I find it kind of strange why they wouldn't want to let me go in. I'm the one who brought him in. I'm his brother. I can't even go in. See, I didn't trust. I don't trust these hospitals at all. I go in and I look at all these doctors and all their names and stuff. It's just
all the donors.
Yeah.
The controllers of the community.
Yeah.
They are licensed to mass murder.
Yeah. Probably what they're doing in that hospital.
Who questions except themselves? A person dies in a result of a hospital visit.
Well, it's not themselves because they're probably all under remote control.
They all have sworn allegiance. Same God of medicine. Medicine as in media. Any event before I pass out?
Okay, Glenn.
I'm going to go take a shower, so I'll talk to you again.
Okay.
Night,
Good luck.
Good.
All right.